We are going to talk about critical issues as fair compensation, remove of content, copyright claiming. We have Takuya Yamazaki here. He handles legal matters and negotiations for diverse stakeholders such as songwriters, publishers, labels, rights management organizations. He also has different executive positions in international associations. Thank you for being here. We also have Suzanne Combo, who's a singer-songwriter. She has co-founded Guild of Artists of Music, also the International Artists Organization, the Cura Collective, dedicated to mental health issue in France. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We also have Jakue Lopez, who is the manager of partner engineering music publishing at YouTube Music.
Hola.
Of course, our moderator, who is Irene Bauzá, she is the vice president of operations at Unison. Yeah, I think I'm not going to take any more time. I'm going to leave it up to you.
Well, since Nerea already did the introductions and we're running a little bit late, I'm just gonna go for it.
Go for it.
So I had here starting with the main characters, which I really love because I used to be an artist as well. I'm going to start with Suzanne. As a representative for the creators, what are the challenges you have found in the last years in creating and sharing content?
Many. First of all, thank you for having me today, and thank you for coming. When I started music on a professional way, it was in 2003, and it was mainly peer-to-peer and less and less selling. We didn't sell any discs. We were selling our own discs on our own internet website. It was really like artisanal. And then came iTunes with iTunes Store and the downloading. But do you remember downloading music? So it came fast and it went fast too. And then streaming came as a solution, as a legal solution to sell music, but actually sell only access to music. It's the main difference between selling a physical object.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't understand anything about the remuneration anymore as the streaming came in our lives. That's why we succeeded in organizing a federation with artists, just to talk together. How do you feel? What's in your contract? Do you understand? What is it? And why you still earn? You don't earn money anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain it? And that's why we created in France the Guild of Artists of Music. But also I discovered that such organization raised in other countries, like in UK, it's Featured Artists Coalition. In Scandinavia, many of they are more in advance, and we created the International Artist Organization, so we can advocate in Brussels, we can advocate in Paris, we can try to fix a better, try to advocate and to have a better remuneration right. But it's still very hard, and now we negotiated for the directive copyright in Europe. Now it's the AI Act regarding AI, but it's still the beginning. Now there is theories, but how can we do in practice? So we are artists are facing so many issues and so many disruptions, and it goes so fast, and the law is slow. Oh, it's a rhyme. The law is so slow, and artists have so many things to do now, more than only creating or performing. They have also to deal with, to negotiate with distributors, to manage their marketing themselves. They have to discover, to manage all the discovery tasks. I mean, the labels used to do this task, and that's why they were paid for. But now they wait for the artists to have a success and to have followers and to have big data, you know, so before signing them. So artists are a label, are an artist, are a creator, are a marketing manager, and they have so many skills to deal with. So it's a long way to the top.
And to help artists as Suzanne and who she represents, what are the latest developments in law to protect their livelihood and for them to be remunerated?
Okay, thank you very much, Irene. And hello, everyone. My name is Takuya, and good to be here. So, of course, you know, what I'm going to talk about is not really related to law, but the business in general. I think, you know, let me put the two keywords, you know, regarding the relationship between rights holders and the UGC platform. So I think the first one is data sharing. And the second one is the true partnership for better fund engagement. I think, you know, maybe, of course, streaming has disrupted many things, right? And we forgot about the download already, but you know, it has disrupted so much. But this type of a discussion, so like, you know, if a new media comes up, and so like, you know, back in the day, it was radio, it was television, it was MTV, a lot of promotional media came up, and we had a similar type of discussion. So what should be the, you know, most appropriate remuneration, or you know, what would be the best relationship between the artists or rights holders and the platform or the users. So of course, this discussion has been repeated all the time. But I think, to me, what is exciting now is we can share the data. This is something which we haven't really had before. So like back in the day, so radio, television, of course, we couldn't, it's really hard to get the, you know, very detailed data, but now we can do it. And that is why I think YouTube, for example, you know, they have been, you know, working really hard on the building up a content management system, and also try to build up, you know, effective relationship with the artists or the rights holders, so that we can have more and more, you know, kind of a better fund engagement strategy. So I think that should be the crucial part. So data sharing. So even though, of course, you know, sometimes from rights holders or artist perspective, you know, what we get as a remuneration or the royalty is not enough. You know, of course, we have data, right, at the same time. So of course, you know, rights holders and the platform or users always have to have a, you know, good relationship to be able to talk about what's you know, most appropriate remuneration framework. Of course, it keeps going, but at the same time, if we understand the importance of data, and if we understand it is very helpful to build better relationship or partnership between rights holders and the users, I think we can get to the next level. Yeah.
Yeah. So since the approval of Article 17, it was going to end the the world, the music world. I know YouTube has been implementing some changes to make sure that this is correctly implemented. Tell us a little bit more of the changes that YouTube has made lately.
Yeah, thanks, Irene. Hi, I'm Jakue. I'm a partner engineer, so I'm an engineer, I'm not a lawyer. but I get to work with many things that are related by copyright law and like the consequences. So I think to your specific question, there has been some changes in the platform to allow for users and content owners to accelerate the claiming process. For example, like typically you had like, a number of days to raise a claim and a number of days to appeal a claim. That those timeframes have been shortened. Sorry. In order for this to happen faster. So before it was 30 days and 30 days, now it's 30 days and you have 7 days only to appeal. So it's one of the, I would say just it's one example of one particular regulation that in one particular part of the world is affecting how YouTube is reacting and engaging with stakeholders, to comply with regulations, but also to have a healthier ecosystem. And I think, Suzanne, you were talking before about iTunes and downloads, and Takuya was explaining how streaming has somehow disrupted the industry. I think, in a way, YouTube many years ago, disrupted the industry also by being the main user-generated content platform. And I think that has put us in the forefront of many things. And many times, just by being in the forefront, you get some heat also, because of being a pioneer on doing certain things. But if we go back 10 years, like we've built a robust system that many of you probably will know, which is Content ID, that helps power all that complexity and relationship with our partners in order to have a kind of a healthy ecosystem. So to your particular point, again, that's just one example, I would say, of something I think Takuya was mentioning on partnership. We work constantly with creators, because I would say that before even the buzz of creator economy was out there, I would say the platform is what has enabled a big creator community, that they many times come up first in YouTube before even being signed by the major label or major publisher. And yeah, again, like by sharing those efforts and keeping a healthy relationship, where I think at the end of the day we both need each other. We need licenses for music to operate. The music industry needs places where music is commercialized and made available. So I would say that partnership and that healthy communication is key. And it may be triggered by regulations like Article 17, or it may be triggered just by partnerships or product needs, right? Many other times.
Just one thing, from legal point of view, because I'm a lawyer, and of course, based on what you said, I think so I talked about the importance of data, and also so that is why I'm really curious about what's going on in EU, especially in terms of a transparency requirement in the context of AI. And also in every contract, so from rights holders or artist perspective, the obligation, for the users to disclose the data is crucial. So artists or songwriters are so frustrated with the lack of data or lack of transparency about the usages. But YouTube actually has changed it, right? So that's why I think, this is really kind of a good movement. Of course, it might not be, very, very, it's perfect, but working on it, working to improve the transparency is something which we need to praise or we need to appreciate. So I think, so in terms of this, when we think about laws or when we think about contracts, we definitely need to put the element of transparency. Otherwise, fights will, keep going. Yeah.
What differences or challenges, what differences you see between a regular streaming platform like Spotify, Deezer, and YouTube as far as challenges that it entails being a UGC
I'd say before starting with the challenges, there are many similarities, especially since YouTube launched also the music product. Like it's now different like any other music platform. But it's true that we also have like a big part of user-generated content where, additionally to the challenges that any other platform will have to attribute ownership, as Takuya was saying, and everything that entails royalty flows for either master rights or publishing rights, where metadata plays a key role. We also have the additional complexity of having to identify that content many times when it's uploaded by users and it's not delivered by our partners like that are active in the music industry, but anybody who wants to upload a video. There's a heavy investment over the past more than a decade on building systems that are capable of identifying that music. So that in itself inherently adds a huge layer of complexity, which is you have the duty of creating a database of references, or we had the duty of creating a database of references, which is basically getting content from content owners like label, publishers, aggregators, and distributors to be able to compare that against any content that is uploaded to the platform. And for those of you who have been around in these panels, I think last year we were just kind of joking about the amount of content that is uploaded every day. It's humongous. Like it's really humongous. So having to invest and build on systems that are able to identify all that, I would say that's one of the major differences. And then even if in a traditional platform, the industry already has challenges of having good, persistent, unique metadata with identifiers. So if you add that into user-generated content where your identification has to follow also that good metadata in order to attribute and report to partners, that just in itself is more complex, no? Like inherently by definition. Mm-hmm. So, but if you somehow remove the identification layer without not willing to dismiss that at all, but just to try to simplify it, at the end of the day, the main difference is also that we need that information earlier. As opposed to other platforms, like they can have the privilege of knowing who owns what, especially in the publishing space, after the fact. In our case, monetization many times and product enabling is dependent on knowing who owns what. So basically knowing which right owner will eventually have to be compensated, and not just from a compensation point of view, but also from a usage point of view. Like, has the owner allowed for this piece of content to be used in UGC or in other videos that are not their official videos? So I would say that's also a main challenge, which is the time frames that we work with are way more accelerated. And this also has generated friction with the industry many times, where like the workflows that were more like historically existing workflows for collecting and distributing royalties from other media like radios and TVs, and that sounds like the Middle Age, but the radios and TVs are still here. And many of the processes and the systems and the habits that many stakeholders have created, they were dependent on those necessities. And many of those are now being pushed to fulfill other necessities. And some people are catching up, and some people are not catching up that much. So in a way, when I was saying like being on the front line, like we've been an agent of change in a way. And I think that has brought many good things, but it has also brought many headaches, no? And many things and many discussions with partners to come up with solutions.
Mm-hmm. Suzanne, with all these intricacies and see technical people like Jakue saying, well, we still have some things to improve. Do you guys as artists care that somebody use your art in UGC, or you are a little reluctant that they do?
Actually, artists have nothing to do with that, because nobody asks us what we think about it.
Right.
So thank you for asking.
You can't control it.
Because actually, many artists don't know how it works and how the rights are managing, and it's so complex. But thanks to many discussions between the stakeholders, and YouTube, we have the Content ID, which is a very good tool to track and claim the use of our work. But actually, I think basically, from the artist perspective, it's very cool to have our content shared by everybody, and that they can use our work to illustrate another work. It's great. It's like a collective work, and it's like a new way to make the work circulate. But it's important to keep an eye on the value of the work, because it costs time, it costs money to
right.
the creators to make music, and it's still expensive to make music. Even if we have many new tools like home studios, it's still time, and it's important to keep an eye on the value of this work, and it's not free. But the industry, the new industry, the content industry, use works. You just can analyze the term It's not music, it's content. It's not
Right.
art, it's content. It's very weird for an artist to be a contentist, actually, if I may. So it's a new way, a new perspective, but it's far from art. It's entertainment. It's content. So it's okay to share, but it's okay to share. Through
share the
Content
money
ID,
too.
we can share money too.
Share.
We share our work, but we share money too. And actually, I just make some an historic. YouTube used to have a safe harbor because it was new and it was protected. The legislator let YouTube to develop its project behind this safe harbor. He didn't have to pay the stakeholders first of all. That's why we called it the value gap between the streaming platforms and the UGC platform. The value gap, it was like 10 less paid on YouTube than on a classical streaming platform. I just rewind on the former question, but for me there is also this difference between the history of the birth of these platforms, and now the safe harbor is not. Sorry, so my French is still.
Don't worry.
I think that's really fantastic point because we are always talking about share and the control, right? Share versus control. But looking back at the history, so like again media, back in the day, radio, television, of course download, and so many media actually disrupted the existing business model, right? But if you really want to control too much, it will fail, right? And so what happened after the emergence of radio, television, and so many stakeholders or rights holders were saying that it's going to destroy our industry, right? So if radio is for free, and there will be no way for the artists to live on the music revenue. But actually, it's worked the other way around, and it became a really good promotional media. Then after that, of course, as it grows, of course, we established a more like a proper remuneration framework. So promotion, the value as a promotion media at the same time, proper remuneration, happened at the same time. So, and this is what exactly happened with the YouTube. Of course, in the beginning, or maybe still to some extent, value gap is there, right? So maybe, from rights holders' point of view, of course, I mainly represent rights holders. I fully understand your point. Of course, it's not enough, but at the same time, we are building a true partnership with YouTube. And as far as they are really transparent in providing us with the, data, detailed data, we can use it, for our promotion or for building a new fan base or other revenue source, conversion to other media, other in Japan what we call fan club is a big business, right? So other way of fan engagement business, right? So I think that kind of really comprehensive view is absolutely needed in order to think about the best possible ecosystem moving forward. So based on this, of course, share versus control, of course, it's a kind of a really contentious issue, but we can make the right balance, based on the history. So that's what I think.
Well, we cannot talk about UGC without bringing up the TikTok universal case. Could you explain from your law expertise?
Yeah. What I have said is a very nice segue to that topic. Because I think the question here is whether or not TikTok has a real appetite to build a partnership with the rights holders. I think that's the question, right? So, and YouTube had the same issue, maybe 10 years ago, but they've been improving their system to be able to establish, true partnership with the rights holders. And of course, I was really curious to see the statement, the press release after the after their new deal, and of course they talked about the AI or they talked about the a lot of other things. But I think, of course, I don't know what was agreed between them. But of course, we can easily imagine the increase of the remuneration. And also, there have to be or must be, some arrangement or agreement on the data sharing. So TikTok as a promotional media, of course, they have become a crucial part of our business. But at the same time, frustration from rights holders' side is a lack of transparency or the lack of enough remuneration. And maybe, I strongly believe that it will be, or it must have been a very good first step to build a, effective partnership type of relationship, just like YouTube. But, I really want, I'm really curious to see, how it goes. Especially, TikTok got charged by the U.S. Congress or, many other stakeholders. Of course, this is this actually includes the geopolitical element as well.
This is an ongoing issue.
That's a huge difference from YouTube. But I'm really curious to see how it goes.
Well, YouTube has been in the market for a way longer time than TikTok. So hopefully in the next 10 years, we'll see TikTok following the steps of YouTube. So, Suzanne, with all this complication, again, I'm repeating the same thing. With all this complication, do artists really know how it works? How everything works between UGC and master rights, publishing rights, etc.?
It's too complex. I think many artists don't know 10% of how it rules, how it works.
What do you see as the ideal collaboration between artists, users, and the platforms?
I think YouTube is in a way to talk to artists and their organization. I know it because I go to Google in France very often to discuss about their tools regarding AI, and we're organizing workshops together, and we try to
really
and to understand each other and what we need and what YouTube needs and so on. And also because artists are more and more content user-generated content. Also, they are YouTubers also. But the problem is I want to take an example. It's when Deezer and Universal decided to improve the artist-centric model. They call it artist-centric. And the artist organization in the world are all together agree to a user-centric model. So they don't care about what we want. They don't. They just negotiate firm by firm between firms, and it's not a general interest topic. It's only a private one, and the artists are not on the table of the discussions. And they call it artist-centric, but it's business-centric.
Right.
You know?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You agree?
He knows.
Yeah.
So
He's in the
it's ironical, and that's why artists are very aside of what happens, and it's very complex because of there is different rights, the performing rights, publishing rights. They are not agreed together, but they concern the same work or the same performer. And it's so complex. The artist is the creator and the performer, but he has a society for his performing right, another one for his author's right, and he has a publisher for to manage his publishing rights, but not the publishing rights that is not collectively managed.
Right.
And for the other side, there is rights collectively managed and privately managed.
And do you think there should be like a common ground, a common table where everybody sits, platforms, artists, publishers, master rights owners, everybody? That would be an interesting.
Yes, it's been years.
Or here we are, no?
Well, here we are, yes.
Just to facilitate the work of YouTube, to track and to, there is conflicts between the publishing and the performing very often, and then no money is distributed to.
That's right. So I think that's a really important point because when Universal, of course, they made a statement about TikTok, and they were saying like, oh, let's fight, against TikTok, as let's get together or let's, fight together against TikTok. But of course, Universal has its own business interest, which is different from the artists or songwriters, and of course, under the legacy contract, they have a problem, right? So, so even though they say like, sometimes they say like, oh, let's fight against.
They are all defending us.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand. Because I saw, obviously, we're all here, so I was following what was going on, and I saw a lot of Universal artists and Universal publishing authors complaining that they didn't have their music in the platform. And I was like, okay, but this is the equivalent of the strike of the score writing in for me at least in the audiovisual world. If you don't do something drastic like that.
Absolutely, yeah. Of course, my point is, in each topic, of course the. Interests of stakeholders are not really necessarily aligned, right? So for the AI issue, all of the stakeholders or rights holders can get united, more or less united, but right? But the of course, the problem with TikTok or problem with YouTube, of course, can be divided, right? So I think that's to me very interesting, understanding the different interests of stakeholders is something which especially under this area, very interesting. Yeah.
Jakue.
No, I want to comment on two things. One is education, and the other one is complexity. You said that for you the case of, it's not for me to comment on TikTok's business or Universal's, but you said that it was like the guild, the Writers Guild strike in the US. I think there is a notable difference, which is artists and songwriters have agreed to grant the administration of their rights to Universal. And that comes from the education part, when Suzanne was saying, and we hear very often, oh, it's very complex. Well, don't listen to those people. It's not easy. I won't say it's easy, but it's not that complex. If you put a bit of interest, and if you inform yourself as a creator, or as an artist, or as a writer, or as a performer, or whatever it is that you are in this industry, and you want to make a living out of it, get to know a little bit of where your revenue streams are coming from, because otherwise people are going to fool you. And that's not just in the music industry, but in general in life. If you don't know what you're doing, someone is going to take advantage of you. So it's not that complex. Ask around, do a little bit of research. And if you don't like it, choose someone that you trust to do that for you. But if you don't do it, someone is either platforms or someone is going to get advantage from you. So my advice is educate yourself and get to fight into the weeds of whoever is saying it's complex. And this is one example. Like, there are probably many artists that have signed an agreement, in this case with Universal, but I'm not picking up on Universal in particular, it's just because you mentioned it, that they have signed something that says that they have granted the administration of their rights, whether it's master rights or publishing rights, to this company. And then this company is taking decisions on their behalf. But that's actually what a contract is. Like, if you sign a contract with your landlord and your landlord decides to kick you out 1 month after, it's probably because they can, because you signed that clause. And you probably, when you sign a leasing agreement, you make sure that your landlord gives you X days to kick you out, no? Well, in the music business, it's the same. So I think it's important to acknowledge responsibilities. Even when talking about value gap, and I won't go into the details, or mostly because it's not my job either, but it was very easy from an artist's perspective to say, oh, the platform is the devil, and they're stealing our money. I don't know. But like, do you know, actually, from the moment that the platform pays, how many people are touching something that eventually should arrive to your pocket, and how much each of those people are taking? Maybe it's your label that you sign a excuse my French, in this case, shitty label agreement and they're taking 80% of your streaming royalties. Or maybe you have a publishing agreement that is not very good and the money is there. Or maybe those are brilliant and the platform is not really paying. It could be. Or you're not doing as much as you should so that your content is properly enabled in the platform for you to get remunerated. So I think it's important. And it's important to acknowledge responsibilities. No, as humans, it's very easy to say, oh, it's your fault. Maybe, but inform yourself, no? So educate yourself. It's not that complex. And it could be that you're just an artist and you just want to create. Or you're a content creator, as they say now, no? I'm still of the area of where musicians are called artists and they do art, and some decide to commercialize their art, and that's what they want to do. Well, choose your friend, choose a company, depending on where you are in your career, that will defend that for you. And then you're able to, with an informed opinion, with an educated opinion, say, oh, this is where my gap is, or this is where I'm losing, where my pipe is broken here. Because otherwise, it's very easy. It's very easy to complain, and it's very easy to blame the other, no? Without doing if you want to make a living out of that, go ahead.
That is 100% correct, absolutely correct. And but that's same. So I think education is something which you are doing, right? So for the artists, for the songwriters.
And that is fantastic,
Which is fantastic. And also at the same time, whether or not artists or rights holders have a leverage, to have a fair contract, that's another issue. And that is, why lawmakers have to intervene, right? So if there is a clear power balance and the power difference, right? So then, and also of course there's very small leverage, systemic small leverage for the artists. I think something has to be done by laws or the regulation.
That's what regulation
and
play.
So, and again back to the transparency or the importance of the data. I think in terms of this, again, transparency requirement.
Data sharing.
Yeah,
Let's
data sharing, and so standard clause about the data sharing, in the contract between, for example, music publisher and a songwriter, artist and the label. I think that's absolutely necessary. And in this context, what European directive says is very, very important, right? So they have, revocation rights or the rights of the proper proportionate remuneration. I think that's very, very important.
And also, if I may, there is a transparency regarding the contract, but then regarding the royalty statements. And now starts the problems. Because the black box is there. We don't know about the deductions. The labels practice the deductions. You have in the contract a basic remuneration like 10%, but it's never 10%. So it will be 5% because there is an advertising on the TV or anyway. And in the royalty statement, you have something like an average. It's like 2.3, but you don't know. So it's an accumulation of many deductions, but you don't know which one. You don't know why they have been applied. And I try to negotiate this with the French Ministry of Culture around the table, with the labels, with Universal, with Sony. It was so hard to have a gain of cause and to have something more transparent and just to have the impact. We can't measure the impact of the deductions on our remunerations. It's not normal. So, I mean, many efforts, we educate, but we also try to negotiate for better transparency, but it's still it's still
black box type of.
For my clarity and for the audience, when you talk about the royalty statements, you're referring to the ones you get from the label.
Yes, from the label.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I want to tell a short story. I know we don't have much time, but I have a friend who's a creator, who was originally a creator in YouTube before becoming a professional musician. And he was choosing to monetize his content directly in the platform, which is, in that case, from the eyes of a platform like ours, is content. And you could be monetizing musical content, or you could be monetizing content of your recipes of your grandma doing pasta, whatever it is. So it's content. And then he made the jump to sign with not a big thing, but like he has a publisher and he has a label. And now he is able to compare somehow how was monetizing directly its own content without its advantages and disadvantages, and now having his musical content being licensed through label revenue streams and publishing revenue streams, no? And I think before it was, you go back 30 years and that was not possible, but now people have information, and we do provide a lot of data to those. And maybe you don't get a royalty statement from your label, but you see some of the numbers that are available because of the access that we give to people. And I think that has created a power shift also, no? which not, the conversation is not anymore about trust and building relationship between platforms and companies, but creators have come to have some sort of voice, because first, in this case, and in the case of my friend, is like he was there before any other company with his content, and now he's there with music content, so he has more knowledge and more understanding. No, he has kind of been self-educated and has seen how some revenue streams cannot be so complex, and when he jumps into slightly more complex revenue streams that are not that complex, I promise, you can learn about those. You can ask me otherwise, I'll tell you where to look. He sees gaps, and he sees the differences. But now it's also, again, on who are you trusting. No, he chose to have that label, and or in this case a distributor, and he chose to sign with a collecting society. Those are his choices. And he understands the consequences, he understands the advantages, and he understands the disadvantages. And I think that is key. Years ago, there were not many chances to choose how you were to put your music out, no? Because either you had a label that paid for your studio time, or it was not possible. Now you can choose. I think that choice is powerful. And in my case, is what I wake up to every morning. So for people that have chosen to get paid with their music, especially songwriters, because publishing is my world, is that we have as much data and as good quality data, so that money arrives to the songwriters. And I don't work with songwriters. I work with collecting societies and publishers. Those are my day-to-day stakeholders in EMEA in particular. But the goal is that one, that the more data we have and the better understanding of those flows, also by those people, is that the more we will achieve that. Otherwise, there's going to be leaks, no? If these were pipes.
Thank you, guys. We've run out of time, but we're going to leave the floor to you guys for questions. I had more stuff about AI, so if you have any questions about AI, I'll leave the floor to you too, because I couldn't talk about it.
I apologize. I don't think this is on. Is this on? Hi, my name is Jeffrey Movitt. I'm a lawyer in the U.S. I specialize in music disputes. I raised my hand before I heard that you wanted to hear about AI, but my question is specific to UGC and to YouTube, among other platforms that provide UGC, which is there's a trend of users speeding down or slowing down, speeding up or slowing down master recordings to avoid content ID. And I think we can agree as all stakeholders that that is bad, because, or not, but in my view, it prevents people who do want to monetize their content from being properly remunerated, and people who do not wish to have their content on UGC end up with their content on UGC. So I don't know if this is something you can speak about or not, but are there steps being taken with content ID to identify tracks that are sped up or slowed down?
Yeah, so I'm not the most expert in the topic, but I'll try to give you my best answer. The answer is yes, obviously. Like, content ID is ever evolving, and I think what you're mentioning is people trying to trick the platform to get out of those identifications. No, I think YouTube has done significant investments to capture many of those. So I think now if you just do a simple speed up, probably they will get you. I think this is just an example of something that Takuya was saying. It's like constant evolving challenges of people trying to get away with ways to trick the system for their own purpose, so that the people that are creating music don't actually get remunerated as they should. No? So in that sense, I would agree with you that it is bad for the ecosystem. The reason why I was laughing before is because I think it was a couple of months ago I was reading a news that I don't remember the artist that was putting an official remix of her album, I think it was, where was speed up versions. Because I think in some other platforms, this content is becoming so popular that it's kind of becoming a new subgenre, no?
Oh yes, some artists are definitely approving it, and it's being
and they're promoting it now,
exactly.
No? So they're making like commercially available releases of that speed up content, which, if you ask me, I don't like it, but that's my particular consumer opinion, not my YouTube opinion, no? But yeah, that's just one example of how is a constant, like, I think there was a panel in the morning also about streaming fraud, no? And they were the partner streaming that we're talking about streaming from, and they were talking about how this is always a constantly evolving challenge that, you know, like piracy and anti-piracy, or like people trying to find ways to avoid the system. And yeah, of course, there's teams that there's a huge engineering team in Zurich, which their main goal is keep improving content ID and keep working so that it catches these things. Yeah, it's of no one interest otherwise. We will be shooting ourselves in the foot, no? If we were not investing on that, certainly.
Anybody else? No? Okay.
Great.
Well, thank you guys
Thank you.
Thank you.
for sharing your thoughts with us.